What do you think is the worst thing that could happen on Independence Day? If you're an American, I'll bet you'd say accidentally setting off fireworks early or maybe stepping on a discarded sparkler and burning your foot. But for the people who attended the Continental Congress in 1776, a premature celebration of Independence Day would have been unthinkable. You see, they didn't know that their country would eventually become the United States of America. The future 4th of July celebrants did not know it at the time, but what they were doing was signing their country's death certificate. Hello, and welcome to this channel. Today we're separating fact from fiction and answering the question, did John Hancock sign the Declaration of Independence on July? To answer this deceptively simple question, we've got some primary source sleuthing to do. We're going to need some historical documents. That's it. Just two. The first is the engrossed. That's ENGROSSED version of the Declaration of Independence, which is the fancy official scroll that most people think of when they hear the word declaration. It's the one with all the big fancy lettering. And it just so happens that the two people whose signatures appear on this document are John Hancock and Charles Thomson, the President and Secretary of the Continental Congress. Our second source is the aptly named Journal of the Continental Congress, which contains, you guessed it, the minutes of the Continental Congress. There's one other detail that you should know about these sources before we dive in. Both of them are available for free on the National Archives website. So if you want to follow along with today's video, you can find the links below. Okay, let's get started. Let's open the Journal of the Continental Congress to July 4th, 1776, the day that future Americans would later decide to celebrate as Independence Day. What does the journal tell us about what happened on this day? Well, it says that on this day, the committee to whom was referred the power to prepare a Declaration of Independence made a report, the same being the declaration that had been presented by the same committee. June, that's the month, not the day 7th, read the third time, and after some alterations at large it was finally agreed to and ordered that the declaration be engrossed. And then it says here, signed by John Hancock, President of the Congress, and Charles Thomson, Secretary. So wait, does this mean that John Hancock was the only person to sign the declaration on July? Well, let's check our other source, the engrossed declaration itself, to find out. And sure enough, there they are, Hancock and Thomson, their signatures smack in the middle of that famous scroll. But look closely. When we zoom in on the signature lines, what do we find? The date July is written in at a significantly later time than the rest of the document. It appears to have been added more than a month after the signatures themselves were affixed. We can verify this by turning back to the Journal of the Continental Congress and looking for the entry from August. And there it is, August 2nd, 1776. The journal says that on this day the engrossed declaration was signed by the President and members of the Congress. In other words, the Journal of the Continental Congress and the engrossed Declaration of Independence together tell us that while July was the date the Continental Congress approved the final wording of the Declaration, most delegates actually signed the document on August 2nd. The only exceptions were John Hancock and Charles Thomson, who signed on July as President and Secretary of Congress. So why is it that everyone is led to believe that John Hancock signed the Declaration on July? Why is it that we Americans celebrate the signing of the Declaration on July? The answer, it turns out, lies in the difference between two very similar phrases. When we say that the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence, we mean that they formally approved its final wording on July. But when we say that the Continental Congress signed the Declaration of Independence, we mean that the delegates affixed their signatures to the engrossed version of the document. These are two different things. And yet, over time, these two phrases have become conflated. Future Americans have mistakenly taken to celebrating the signing of the Declaration on July. They've done so because July is the date that the Continental Congress formally adopted the Declaration. But as we've seen, the delegates didn't actually start signing the engrossed document until August. So there you have it. As of today, July 4th, 2022, This channel can now report that the worst thing that could happen on Independence Day would be accidentally setting off fireworks early or burning your foot, or starting a massive wildfire with those fireworks, which unfortunately happened yesterday in the Czech Republic. Happy birthday, America! I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. And if you did, please remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.